Hello, this is Rachel and I've just finished watching Lindsay from the Frugal Crafter do her decluttering video, and that kind of inspired me to do a similar video. My room is a little bit of a disaster. I've accumulated things over probably about 20 years, and yeah, I have problems trying to let things go if I've spent money on it. So I need to be ruthless, and I need to be a little bit more realistic about how many supplies I can actually use, and I need to donate some things. So I actually have two rooms in my house where I do crafts. My main room, which is the one I'm currently in, and this is the desk where all my videos are filmed. I have this room, it's quite a small room, and I have another room which is even smaller. But I have managed to pack quite a lot of stuff in here, so I'm going to show you the shame and disaster of both of those rooms. I'm thinking it's probably going to take quite a long time, so I liked the format of Lindsay's video where she looked at maybe one type of item and decluttered it and then moved on to another. So I'll probably do kind of the same thing in sections, but I just wanted to give you an overview. This is something I did start this yesterday as soon as I'd watched Lindsay's video, and then I thought it would be nice to film it because I really do enjoy watching those kind of videos. It gives you the inspiration to get going on your own organisation and decluttering, so I thought I would share the same. So you normally get just this view and you don't see much else. My desk is normally clearish. It's not at the moment because I've started to destash some things, so I'm just going to show you my desk area. So you can see there in the windowsill I have containers with brushes, inks. There is a light in the way there. That is the light that I am currently using for filming when it's not daylight hours. So I can just bend that out of the way, and you can see I've got a selection of watercolour brushes, acrylic brushes. Some are in containers that I've decorated. They probably need redecorating because the paper has faded. And then I have some coffee stirrers, more brushes, clay making tools, scissors, cocktail sticks. There's some cards at the end that I use for paint, and then below that, which a light again is going to be in the way, I have two racks of ink. So I have my archival inks, which I use all of the time, so they're definitely staying. Next to those is another rack of inks, and if I just move things out the way, they are all StazOn inks, which I haven't used, I probably haven't used in over a year, I would say. I've been hanging on to them. I used to use them all the time, and then when Archival started releasing lots of different colours, I much prefer the formula of Archival ink, so they've probably become an item that is obsolete from my needs. Then I have this small tray. Let me move this bag out of the way. This tray a friend made for me. It has my essentials that I use all the time. So I have in there some glossy accents. I have a piece of styrofoam with pins in, because if you use glossy accents you know that it gets blocked all the time. There's a piece of sequin mesh, and there is also some glue. I have some stamps in there. You'll recognise my Itty Bitty stamp, which gets used quite a lot in projects. So that's kind of okay as it is. I've sorted that already. Those are the art prompt boxes that I made that I like to sit on my desk, and then underneath those there is just some cotton buds. I've put a few things on here that's just my water container, that ugly looking thing there that always sits there. I've got a few things that I've picked up from other areas. There's a box of random chipboard pieces that need sorting, some coloured pencils that need putting away, and then if I move my light again, I have this bag. This is one of the things that I've just started to de-stash. So in here I have, these are Copic speaker pens. I don't use them. I picked them up a few years ago, probably about 3 years ago, on eBay. I wasn't impressed with them. I don't know whether I got a bad package or that's just how they are, but to me there was virtually no glitter in them. I didn't like them. I didn't think they were worth the money. So I'm going to donate those. And then also in here I've decided to de-stash all of my Ranger paint dabbers. I use them occasionally, and by occasionally I mean I force myself to use them because they're sat there. They're not something I naturally gravitate towards. What I don't like about them, I don't like the dabber lids. I prefer a paint that I can pour into a palette. So I always end up taking the lids off, and 9 times out of 10 I need to add water to them because the paint's so thick. I don't think they were that thick when I got them. I think just the fact that I've had them a number of years. They're still good to use. None of them are completely dried out, but you see, that's a real pretty colour. I shouldn't look at them again because that makes me want to keep them. But I have so much paint that I could never possibly use it, and so I'm going to give this to somebody that can use it, and that is better than it sitting in my room until it all dries up. So that is what I've managed to de-stash so far. I'm probably going to add on to that, but that's why that bag is sat there. So I'm just going to give you an overview of the room before I do any more, and then you can get an idea of where I'm at with this disaster. So I'm going to start in the corner of the room. I have this unit here. It's one of those plastic drawer units. It's quite a narrow one, so it doesn't particularly house a lot. At the top of it I have some canvas bags that I bought to alter. Then I have a stack of different sized canvases, and there's also some paper mache boxes on there. On the top drawer is hanging my webcam when I stream on Ustream, which isn't very often these days. Then in these drawers I have, well, the top one has got smaller canvases. Then I have alterables, so I've got paper mache shapes to alter, some wooden items that can be altered, and I'm just moving my camera across. Then I have just random things that can be altered, like slide mounts. There's various different bits and pieces in there, bottle caps, smaller items to alter. And then going down I have my drawer of adhesives. In fact, I've got 2 drawers of adhesives, and it's going to get very dark in that corner, but the last 2 drawers, one of them has a couple of paper mache things to alter, and the last one I really need to sort out. It's got fibres in it at the moment. Then I have a craft mat, cutting mats down the side, which is oversized. Moving across from there, there is a lamp here that I do use for filming. I know I've got one on my desk already. They're both daylight lamps. Sometimes you need a little bit of extra light from different directions, but to be honest, this one that's sat here, it hasn't been used as much since I got the LED one, so maybe that can move from there. This is a small shelving unit that's sat on my desk. It's currently a complete mess. I use it when I'm streaming live to put my laptop on, so it probably needs to stay, and it has things that I grab all the time. Currently, you can see I'm using it to store projects. I've got a journal on there, I've got a finished project, I've got some other 6x6 art pieces on there, and then behind it is a metal bucket with rulers and water brushes and some extra adhesives and various other things. Probably need to go through that. Then on the actual shelves themselves, I have various things. So I have a container. That container there is full of fibres. Sat on top of it are some micron pens, a new package. These little containers I need to go through. The bottom ones have glaze pens and souffle pens. I think there's even some very old Adirondack pens in there. Then I've got some metallic pens, some Krylons, and there is some handmade embellishments, flowers and such like, which I need to really go through those. I like making flowers and then I never use them. So if I'm not going to use them, I either need to pass them on or I need to throw them away. One of the two. So I probably can get rid of some things there. That's where the speaker pens were also sat, so I've already destashed those and put them in the bag to go. I have some of the District Market little zip pouches there. I use them as pencil cases. I've got a spare one at the side, but the main one is full of black and white pens. I probably need to go through that next. This is... Let me just focus on that. These are all micron pens. The ones in the bag are not black and white, which is why they're separate in a bag. I've got a couple of the colour ones there, and the rest are all there's some random, I think they're Stabilo, yeah, Stabilo fine liners, micron pens. The Stabilo are not permanent. Posca pens. These ones probably need to go. That's really old, I'm sure. A lot of these I need to look at because I've used them on surfaces they're not meant for, and I've ruined the nibs on them, or the ink doesn't flow very well anymore. There's a random Sakura pen, which I don't really use. I need to go through it, look what works, what doesn't work, what I have replacements for, and so that might be the next job, because that is a lot of pens. So I can do that. Now if I go back to the area where I was looking at. So yeah, so that's that shelf. I've got fibres, I've got Posca pens, I've got the black and white pens. Underneath it I've got some spare pens, a unfinished project at one end. Let me see. I will see if I can show you this. This is, it was a piece of junk mail basically, and let me see if I can zoom out so you can actually see something. It was a piece of junk mail that I started altering and haven't finished. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'm not feeling very inspired to go back. There's some sketching on some of the pages. Yeah. So it doesn't need to be sat under there, to be honest. It either needs finishing or, yeah, thrown away, I guess, if I don't want it. Yeah, the embossing powders that are there, these are Stampendous embossing powders. They don't fit with my other embossing powders, which tells me I have too many. And then there's just some spare pens that I think there's some Posca pens in there, and a couple of others that are brand new. So they're in there, so I don't use them until the others are used up. Then I've got my stamping blocks that always sit at the end. That's a labelling machine. If you're looking for a really good labelling machine, I would highly recommend this one. It's the Brother P-Touch. It's got a QWERTY keyboard, a few different styles of font. You can get different size labels for it, which I really liked. Some of the others, I previously had a Dymo. I did not like that. It did its job, but let me show you what I don't like about that Dymo, because I still have some labels in this room that are Dymo labels. So those labels there, firstly, are peeling off, but look how yellow they are. They were white labels, and that's pretty much why I don't like it. The labels peel off. I'm sure the camera's not picking up the peeling. So if you can't see it, trust me, the labels peel off after a while, and they definitely go yellow. Whereas the labels from if you get the genuine Brother labels, I know you can get substitute labels, but I never have, because these labels, they're waterproof, they stay white, and you can buy them in different tape widths. So I think you can get 6, 9 and 12 mil. They're a little pricey, I think, but if I only have to label something once, then that's worth it to me. So yeah, I would recommend that. Moving on. So shelf area I've done, desk I've done. I'm going to go back this way, I think, because that will be easier. So next to me, there's the edge of my desk, and if I go just next to my desk, I have a, whoops, wrong way. This is a wire rack that has 3 shelves on it. It has some tools at the bottom. I have my crocodile, my staples, the tiny attacher from Tim Holtz, a couple of other things. My craft iron is down there. Then on the second shelf, that's normally where my labelling machine fits, and I've just noticed I still have my old Dymo labelling machine there, so that needs to go. That definitely needs to go. I can pull that out. Let me see if I can zoom in. There it is. So that can probably go right now. That is the old one. This is the one that makes everything yellow. So it's served its purpose. I'm going to pass it on. Somebody else might be able to use it. There's nothing wrong with it. Probably needs the batteries replacing. Then, so the top shelf is the things I use all the time. Baby wipes, which I tend to buy in bulk when they're on offer. There's some sharpeners and erasers in a jar. Above that, I have this corkboard. These are, let me zoom out. These are projects that either I've made or people have sent to me. It has far too much on there. You can't actually see anything. So that also needs sorting. Then moving along, next to the wire rack is what was a DVD shelf, I think. And this is where I keep my mediums. So there is a speaker on there for an iPhone, which I'm probably going to move because I'm going to get a Bluetooth speaker. That was for, not that you need to know this, but that was for my old phone, and I need a separate attachment for my new phone to make it work. So it's inconvenient, it's served its purpose, it's time to go. The gypsy cord shouldn't be there. I just put it there because there was a space. So that needs somewhere to store it. Then I've got my fixative, some golden mediums that don't fit on the shelves because they're too tall. Then I have my gel mediums, texture pastes is on these shelves, and if you get to the floor area you can see that some things do not fit on there. And then I have all these wires everywhere, which also I need to sort out. And then I have a random heater that does not need to be in here. This is just by the door now because I have a radiator. So that needs a home. It's kind of shoved there because I don't know what to do with it. But it does need it needs donating. Right, I'm just going to spin us around. So we're back to the desk area. I don't think you're going to be able to see underneath the desk too well, but I have some 3-drawer plastic containers and then a wooden unit. They all need sorting. The plastic containers are pretty much sorted, they have stamps in. The wooden containers, they all have labels. The labels probably don't represent what is in them anymore. And then on the floor I've just taken down my binders that have my stamp indexes in. And then I've taken a load of other stuff down and put it on the floor, so it currently looks like that over there. So from the edge of my desk, I'm just going to show you. Oh yeah, I found these as well. These are, not that I found them, I knew I had them. These are Derwent Colour Soft, and I don't use them. I bought them, I didn't like them, I found them kind of dry. I found that they didn't blend as well as I would like, so I am also going to give these up because they're just sat there. They're only sat there because I feel guilty about how much money I spent on them, and that's pointless. I might as well donate them to somebody who can actually use them. So they are also going to go. So far today I've all the dabbers and the Colour Soft and those pens from Copic as well. This side of the room I have some of these plastic containers. There's 2 4-drawer containers stacked on top of each other with far too much stuff in. At the top, this is a real disaster. On the left hand side is a broken storage container that has my watercolour paper in. I haven't found a replacement. I've looked a few times in various places to try and find something that's big enough to house my watercolour pads, but haven't found anything. It still needs sorting out anyway because it's not very neat, because it's so high up I pull things out and then I can't push them back properly, so yeah, it's not ideal. And then there's a box of foam stamps which I need to sort through because I don't use them when they're sat up there. I forget about them and I do like them. This little disaster here is where my stamp index folders are supposed to sit, and when I pull the folders out everything else falls down because it's not actually a shelf. And then I have some journals stuck at the front which are not very neat. Then the actual drawers themselves. On the left hand side I have some clay moulds and just things for working with clay. On the right hand side it's sprays and things, and then I've got some fabric further down, and then I have my alphabet stamps in this drawer here. So this is pretty much packed to the brim with all kinds of different stamps. I use these a lot. I don't think there's anything I can take out of there. This drawer here did have my dabbers in, and I've virtually emptied it. There's a few things still left in there, so I can empty that completely. Then further down I have stamp board and some chipboard pieces, and then over here is another unit with more units on top. So at the top I have a basket with ephemera in, and then there's various sketchbooks, types of paper, just some random things. There's some embossing powders because they don't have a home anywhere else. There's distress paper that's never been used. Then there's metal and metal and metal and metal. I don't know how much metal I need. Definitely not this much. I have... there's game pieces at the top. But then the rest is ideology, Prima embellishments, random metal charms, things that people have sent me. Yeah, far too much. It's a disaster because the drawers don't open properly. Just to give you an example. There we go. There's one drawer. It's absolutely packed. There's bags of metal, there's little containers with charms in, and these are stacked maybe 2-3 deep. This system worked when I didn't have very much, and now I can't find anything. I've got no idea what is in these drawers, so that is definitely a big job to sort all those out. Then I've got some pearl trims, embossing powders, rub-ons, things like that, and then I have on the floor, these are brand new paper pads which I don't have room to store. They're all by Prima, so they need a new home. Then this is the other side of the room, so I have shelves, and then I'm going to show you this unit in a minute, and then just to put it into perspective how much space is in here or not in here, that's the edge of my desk there. So if we look at floor space, there's the edge of the desk, and there are my shelves. So there is not much floor space at all. So it's, those things are on, that box is on the floor, but that box is on a shelf, the bottom shelf. So from there to there, that is it. That is all the floor space I have. Let me pan out and see. There we go. That is the floor space. There's just a tiny bit to the bottom shelf. So this is a tiny room. And the other room I have is even smaller. So, let me see where we were. So we did this unit here with all the metal in. This is all mostly paper. At the bottom there's a few spray inks which I think need to go. I think they're bad. I think they were bad when I got them because you can see the bits of pigment, and I never sent them back, which I should have done. I'm really bad at stuff like that. So it kind of sits there until I've decided I'm just going to throw them. So that's what they are. Then I have on these shelves that really look awful, I have some stencils, 12x12 stencils, oversized stencils. There's acetate sheets. I'm not even sure. Metalworking supplies at the bottom. Then it's all paper. So there's a mixture of 12x12 patterned paper, A4 pads, and there is also in these containers there's more patterned paper, and there's also basil cardstock. And then on top I just have my trimmers, and that's it there. And then the big shelving unit, which if you ever watched my stamp organisation video, this is the shelf, which looks really big in that. Well, I suppose it's longish, but I don't have that much space. Yeah, the stamps are probably all going to stay. So the stamps cover a fair amount of that shelf. I have some random things on that shelf as well. Yeah, there's a box there with sequin waste, which I am never going to use all that, so I'm going to take a few pieces off, I think, and donate the rest. I have some random unfinished projects that need finishing. There is another one. Yeah, see, this should not be sat on here. This is, let's see, I don't know whether I can get this in the camera or not. It's a sketch I started 2 years ago that has sat there, not completely for 2 years, but the best part of 2 years that has been sat there. It's done in Prisma pencils, which is why you can get that slight sheen. Yeah, so that needs finishing. It shouldn't be sat on there, so I'm going to put that on my desk now because it needs a better home than there. Then, as I say, all my stamps I'm probably going to keep. The shelf below is all different supplies, so I've got a lot of paint on this shelf. I have Stuart Gill paints at the end. I have H2Os and Cosmic Shimmer paints. You can just about make out some Diane Reevely paints on the next shelf. I've got random supplies. There's some tassels from Prima sat there that don't have a home. Stickles, pearls, self-adhesive pearls and rhinestones. That's my container of cut and dry foam that I use a lot, all the time, in fact. Then there's some flowers back there. There is some of the Inca Gold, which I can probably destash some of that. Some of it has dried up. And Rub and Buff, so metallic waxes. Alcohol inks, golden paints, Perio Prism paints, washi tape, two types of golden paints. There's the heavy body, and there is also the fluid acrylics. Then there's a couple of bigger bottles of golden that I use more often, so I've got bigger bottles, only a couple of colours. Then my Lemire paints, which I use all the time. There's also some coloured texture paste in there, which I need to look at and see if it's still good. Yeah, and probably use it. There's some Prima inks, the chalk edges behind there. There's some Flex for UT, which I don't know if I'm ever going to use that. I'm probably not, in all honesty, so maybe that needs to go. That is just sample colours of all my paints. It probably needs looking at again. It's got ink colours on as well. I use it as a colour reference, but there's some things that I've got rid of. So the stamps we've seen, I'm probably not going to do a whole lot with those. Some of them I will go through, the boxes. So crafty individuals, I know I don't use those stamps very often. I did destash some last year. It was 2 boxes and now it's 1. So yeah, I need to do that. This shelf has inks. Let's see if we can get the camera a little higher here. Okay, so I have distress inks on this shelf. I have these Adirondack inks, which I'm kind of thinking need to go. I don't use them. I used to use them all the time before there was distress ink. There wasn't much else on the market in terms of dye-based inks, so I can probably let those go, which would free up both those shelves. The corner there I have more ink. They are opalite inks, which also I haven't touched them in the longest time. These are the inks that have like a sheen to them. They're kind of iridescent. The pads are all white, and I don't know whether you can see the little bit of ink that's gone onto the black. So you need to use them on a dark surface to see the colour, and I don't work on a dark surface very often, and I don't remember the last time I picked one of those up, so I think they can go. Then I have an empty container there, so that needs to be repurposed. I have some spare water bottles. Oh, that container has my clear, actually not just clear, they're all sentiment stamps, so they're all together. Then I have on this shelf distress markers, distress stains. They can go. I don't use them. I think the colours are different to the ink pads, and I don't like that. I don't like using them from the dabber because the ink's too dark, so I tend to use them, if I do, in the same way I'd use an ink pad. So I put the colour onto my craft mat and then spritz it with water and then dip my card in. Now I have ink pads, I can do that. I do not need colour stains. I tried to dispense them into bottles. It just took such a long time to try and get those lids off that I didn't really want to be doing that. So I'm going to give up the distress inks. I think the distress paints, I don't know about that either. I think I need to make a conscious effort to use them more because I don't. Some of those are not even open, so that is yeah, that's not good. That is a complete waste. So I either need to make a conscious effort to use them, or they need to go. Underneath, so there's the box with the sentiment stamps. Then I have watercolours. I have Newton and Windsor set on top of the clear box. They are Prima confection sets, which I need to label some of them up. I like to put the numbers underneath the paint, so if I'm ever doing a video I can know which colour it is to refer to it. Then they are Daniel Smith watercolours, tube watercolours, a random ink re-inker, pan pastels, a ribbon, I don't know what they're called, ribbon tie thingy, that's not the name. I don't know what they're called. The things that help you tie ribbons, well, it doesn't help me at all because I can't use it. I don't know how to use it. I guess if I had the patience I could YouTube it, but yeah, I'd just tie ribbons, so that was a waste of money. Maybe I should look up how to tie them, see if I can tie a perfect ribbon. If I can't, it needs to go. Somebody else can use it. Behind there is pan pastels and my drafting brush. I have some watercolour markers, my Neo 2s by Caran d'Ache, Inktense pencils, I think they are Prisma Very Thins. Then I have the Prima wax pastels, the water soluble, the non-water soluble, a random selection of Derwent pencils. There's some graphite, some wash pencils, graphite tints I think. Then I have a tin with just some charcoal in, Prisma Premier colour pencils, and Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. So they're things I grab all the time, and I use all the time, so they're staying exactly there. The shelf above, let's see if I can get the camera up there, have some folders there that probably have not been touched or looked at in, I would say, at least 5 years. They're all full of collage papers, so I need to go through them and decide whether I still like them, whether I'm going to use them, or whether they need to go. Then I have Glimmer Mist. I don't reach for it as much now because I have a lot of other sprays, but I do still use it, so it's staying. These are tapes, tissue tape, some of the Tim Holtz tissue tape, some fibres, and then flowers. Wild Orchid Craft flowers in all of these boxes up here. I have far too many. And then at the end are Prima colour bloom sprays. And then the very last shelf, this is way out of my reach. I have a lot of projects on here, and if you can see hiding up there, yet more ink. I put those out of the way because I wasn't using them. They are Brilliance ink pads by Tsukuniko. I like them, I don't use them because I have too much stuff. These are all projects, some I've made, some I've... Okay, I got cut off there for a second because I ran out of battery. So I'm plugged in now. I'm going to see if we can come down the shelves. So we had the top shelf with projects, and there is a ton of stuff behind there. There's not just those ink pads. I don't know what else is there. I clearly need to get some kind of step ladder to stand on there. Then there's the shelf with Glimmer Mist and flowers. Then there's my eye level shelf, which has my inks and the colouring mediums, pastels, pencils. So that has stuff that I use all the time. Then just below eye level is my stamp shelf, which again I use all the time. So those are my most used shelves. The one below that is the one with paint, stickles, more paint, embellishments, and then right at the very bottom I have more paint. I have the Delusions paints. I really like those. I shouldn't say this, but I really wouldn't mind a couple more. Yeah, I like the bright colours. I don't have any paint that's that bright in colour, so I don't mind buying those, and I am using them. Behind that is clay. I probably need to look at that and see what's good and what's not, and I probably should do more clay work, which I'm not right now. Then I have my silks, love those paints. Then the box below is Paper Artsy chalk paints, which I like the colours. I wouldn't say they're any better or worse than any other cheap craft paint. So, but I do like them. Then I have, these are the Prima Art Alchemy paints, which I need to use more. I've used them a few times, but they're a new product. So yeah, I need to play with those a little bit more. That is an empty box, so that can be used for something, I don't know what. Then this here is, well, they're boxes of more rubber stamps. And then this here, that one shouldn't be on top there, it should be in this container. So this is a container of all my background stamps. It just needs a general tidy, because I just throw things back in, and I just need to make sure the rubber isn't getting distorted from when I've thrown them in. I use all of those all of the time, they all stay. These are paper pads, and there is this tray and a tray behind. So these are 8x8 mostly, and then some 6x6 behind. I do not use a whole lot of pattern paper. I don't know why I buy it when I know I don't use it, but I see the pretty patterns and I think I'm going to use it, and then yeah, I don't know. I think I just got used to creating my own background so much that I don't use a whole lot of pattern paper, and then when I try and use it, I'm like, well, what's left for me to do, because the pattern's already there. So yeah, it kind of throws me a little bit. I use it occasionally, but I probably don't need that much. This is now on the floor. There is a container here that is half finished cards, which need obviously finishing. This container here is stamps, as is that one. Well, that's a stamp and die set. These are stamps that are not yet indexed, so nothing goes into a box until it's indexed, because I flipped through my index files when I'm looking for something. There is a random bottle of Johnson's clear floor polish, because I have previously used it in projects. This is a blue container on the floor which has got embellishments in it, and then on top of it I've got journals and watercolour paper and watercolour canvas, and then there's a random box of bits that, yeah, that needs to be relocated. And then we're back to the stuff on the floor. Ideally I wouldn't want any boxes on the floor, but this room is so narrow, you can see that side to that side. Unless I get rid of a substantial amount of stuff, I don't see how I can avoid it. So that the plan is to get the floor clear. And that is my room. So for today, just to recap, I've got this whole bag here. I'm going to add to that, and when I've gone through, I think, the distress stains, the inks, I'm going to put it all on my table, and I will show you what I'm going to destash in this first section of my decluttering madness. Okay, see you soon. I'm back. I've just finished going through all my inks and paint, and I have added from the very top shelf where everything hides because it's too high for me to look. I have added quite a bit more. So that is the bag of paint that is going. They are all the dabbers, and there's a couple of random other paints in there as well. Some of the, or one of the Claudine Helmuth paints, some of the Anita's brand paints. So that is a huge bag full of paint that is going to go. Then I did already talk about these. I don't know. There's some of these that I'm thinking about hanging on to, and I know that's not the point of this. Like colours like Lemonade, I don't have any problem whatsoever in getting rid of that because it's so light. I think these newer ones that they brought out, the same with Cloudy Blue, yeah, there's not much ink in them, or there's not much colour to them. They're so light, you have to really work with them. I don't have any problem getting rid of those, but the older original earth tones, I'm just not sure. I don't know. So I have them here to destash, and I'm already thinking about not destashing. So I don't know. I almost feel a touch of sadness because I used these so much when I first started out. I don't know about those. Anyway, then I found this box of inks here. Now these really were the first inks I got. This is a really cheap, affordable UK brand. Nothing wrong with the ink. The pigment inks, I have a few of those that have been hiding. I didn't even know I had them still, so they can definitely go. This Versacolor ink pad, I used to have all the little cubes, and this was one of the multi-colour pads. I'm never going to use that. That can go. There's another Ink It Up one. That's definitely going. This one I found, it's not even opened. And look at the price that it was. I don't know whether these are still on sale. I don't really know anything about them, but it says it's permanent on every surface. So I may open that and see what, well, see if it's still okay. Yeah, I might take a look at that one before I decide. This one can go. Pigment ink pad by Rubber Stampede. Don't even know if they sell them anymore. So that can definitely go. This little thing, this is where it all started. This is a small blue dye-based ink pad. It was the very first ink pad I ever bought. It came with stamps, I think. The very first stamps, which are long gone. But yeah, that is where it all started. This madness started with this. That is going. This one is a hybrid ink pad. Don't think I've ever used it. I might have tested it maybe. It looks metallic-y, but I will never use it, so that can go. Then I have some of these Encore ink pads. I have a few of those in metallic colours. They are pigments. There's a multi one and another multi one. I won't ever use those, and then there's just one more of those Ink It Up stamps. So all those are going. So that is that box, that bag where I've just thrown some more of those inks. Then goes on. I talked about the old Dymo labelling machine. That is definitely going. I talked about the Opalite ink pads. They are definitely going. I have no interest in using those. I also found this glue pad. I think this is by Tsukaniko. I'm not sure. It's got no label on the bottom. I think it's Tsukaniko. I could be wrong. I bought this, used it once, and it did not work for me. So it's going. Then I also found other types of inks. I knew I had these hiding away. Kaleidocolor ink pads. I have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 7 of those. Oh no, there's not, because there's more. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those. Hardly used. remember how to get into these. I thought it slid across, but maybe not. No. Oh yeah, it's that slides across. So these are separate colours, but you slide them across so you can use a brayer. But yeah, I don't use them, and I can't think that I'm going to use them because they've sat up on the very top shelf for so long. I think I mentioned the Colour Soft that I'm going to get rid of, and then the last thing are these Stampin' Up! Ink pads. I think I have 4 dye based and 1 pigment based. These are very little used. Dye based last forever. I will not use them. I have so much ink, and I'm not going to look at them because I'm going to want to keep them even though I've never used them. They're probably, I don't know, 10 years old maybe. I'm sure the colours have all changed. So yeah, there's 6 boxes of those. There's oh yeah, there's 2 craft ones. Yeah, 2 craft ones and 4 of the classic ones. So that is quite a substantial amount of stuff. Even if I do decide to keep some of the, maybe just the earth tones from the Adirondack, I don't know. I'm still undecided, so if I'm undecided, maybe I should keep them for now, because I think I'm being quite ruthless. And it's hard. It's really hard to be ruthless. But yeah, I'm happy to let the rest of it go. So that is everything for now. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I will have to have a think about that, and then I'll come back with the next section.